Hello, everybody. This is Avidan, and may God's peace, truth, grace, and love be with you all if you seek Him in faith and faith alone. I'm finally coming out of this cold. I'm in my extra sleepy mode, or that stage of it, and I want to thank everybody for the prayers that you've given. Sorry that it's been a couple days since I've last messaged. But I have a message from Andrew Blake, and this was, I thought, a great comment, and I figured I would address this now, where it says, "Hey, Avidan, I have a question for you, brother. How do you feel about so many in the truth movement regarding Adolf Hitler as a hero? I've noticed there's a lot of people who worship Hitler as some kind of cult mini-god, their personal messiah and savior. They also make him out to be a saint who never harmed anybody but was just given a bad rap by historians on the winning side of the war. What do you think is the reason why there is so much sympathy for fascism and Nazism in the truth movement? Is it because they all think Jews run the NWO, or is it because of some other deeper psychological reason?" So great question, and sorry that it took so long for me to get to this. I really wanted to get it to right away, but I was just too sick. So I think there's a bunch of reasons why this would be happening here. First off, we'll bring up, they all think Jews run the NWO. I think that's a big primary reason why. I think that when you see a lot of these psyops that go down, and then when you take your primary or your initial researches into the New World Order, you find a lot of Zionism, and you find a lot of quote-unquote Jews. Which I think if you're coming to the conclusion that it's Jews that run the NWO, I think that you have not done enough research. If you take a look at the state of Israel, it was funded by Rothschilds right after it was post-World War I. And if you take a look at who they were involved with, you'll see that it's not just Jews as the religion behind the NWO. You'll also see that their Knesset, which is their big government building, and their Supreme Court of Justice, it was all funded by Rothschilds. And if you do your research as to who the Rothschilds were financiers of, who they were accountants for, I think you'll get a little bit more of insight on that, and that it wasn't the Jews at the root. Now, I mean, it doesn't mean that there aren't people from all cultures that are involved in this. I think that's what these people do. I'm not talking about Jews, but the people behind them. They come from all cultures because they've spread themselves to all corners of the earth. But yeah, I think it's very easy for people who have not done a full slate of research that it was really them. It's really them who's behind it. And when you see setups, what I believe to be setups, like for example the Bataclan in France during the Paris shootings, you see that it was owned by a Jew but sold off, and that does not prove that Jews were involved. It just proves that a Jew owned it, and they could have had somebody behind the scenes that gave them an offer they couldn't refuse, and you wouldn't know. But when you have people that are not willing to do full slates of research or not able to look at logic, claiming themselves as an authority as to who is behind it and everything like that, these are the kind of outcomes that you're going to be able to get. So is it because of some other deeper psychological reason? Yeah, I think so. I think that Adolf Hitler, who was a megalomaniac, otherwise known as narcissistic personality disorder person, he came in a time where the state was really bad in Germany, and he had the better truth, right, for everybody. So he started, like, he was a failed artist, at which he started going into literary societies, which if you take a look into literary societies in Germany, you'll notice that they're all run by Masons. It's like their underground hideout, and it has been since the time of the Illuminati. That's where they all went when they were banned by the emperor. So, yeah, he started off in his literary society. They see that this guy was a useful tool, essentially, and then they put him into military ranks, I believe. He started in military ranks in Germany. Through the NSDAP, which is a socialist democratic party. And from there on in, he took over the rule of Germany. And then he went on and started, wasn't enough for him, so he would go on and take the world over. And I think it all starts that when these people say they have the real truth that they're going to give to you, man, and that real truth is more important. They just need to get rid of a certain group of people. that could or could not be set up, like the Ashkenazi Jews in Germany, like these families. A lot of them were greedy in a way. A lot of them, right? So that's what happens when you dangle opportunity and wealth in front of people's face. They get greedy, right? It's not just them. It's how people act in general. When you read a lot of the Bible, you'll see that you see yourself in a lot of what the Jews did in the Bible, and it's not necessarily them to blame. Deeper psychological reasons. He was a megalomaniac. He was very charismatic. And a lot of people are drawn to that because rather than looking into the problems of this person giving them truth, they just see the new truth that nobody else is telling them, and they believe that these people are to be trusted. And that's how it worked, I believe. I think that, like, to say whether or not he was a bad guy, good guy, I mean, I think a lot of us are no better than Hitler. It was just that people had seen him and his charisma, his talent of charisma to be an asset to do their deeds. And if you look behind what the NSDAP was, or the Nazi Party is another word for it, they were very occultic, very, very occultic. And their occultism can be easily traced back to the Society of Jesus. It's very easy to take a look at all the different signs and symbols that they had and all their different ideologies. It was very, 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 very obvious that it wasn't Jewish people at all behind it. It was the other group that nobody will talk about in this movement, because it's too easy to blame the Jews. It's just too easy. It's been set up so well so that it looks like everything is really the Jews behind it, when it's just people that are failing to do proper research to see what is really behind it. One second, I gotta sneeze. If it won't go away, it's been over 2 weeks now. But yeah, they worship this guy as the real truth, right? You have Hitler come in. He brings the riches associated, when really it was just the people behind him that got him going. I mean, you can see that in our movement with the Jaffs, the whatever, you know who. And they start getting puffed up, and they want more and more and more and more, and it creates a massive cult. In the case of Hitler, it was a nation that really bought into this, and I believe the Jews were set up. I think straight up that's what happened there. So as for, did the Holocaust really happen? Was it a hoax? Was it not? I think there is more than sufficient evidence, including survivors, the sites, all this stuff that people can visit, that can show you that it is real. It happened. The Holocaust did happen. I mean, were 6 million killed? I don't know. I wasn't there. And for that matter, I can't prove to you that the Holocaust happened. I don't think, not myself, but I think there's more than abundant evidence that you can observe for yourself that will show you that it did happen. It could be more like 1 million people died, and yeah, sure, there were other massacres where other people died, and they gave that one a lot of attention because it was a strife that happened in the middle of the most news important part of the world at that time. So what happened there was, now you have a state that was created post-World War II by the Rothschilds that are essentially invincible to criticism from the outside because of this. And if you look into their genetical history, they're not really Jewish for the most part, because I'm pretty sure it's on your mother's side is where you're Jewish, and none of them can trace back their genealogy. Well, at least not the Ashkenazi. The Ashkenazim, that's the group that came from Khazaria, Georgia, Armenia, and they went to Germany, and then that's where they all got banished. Germany and Poland, they all got banished down. The ones that were left into Israel. And yeah, most of them, they don't have any Jewish roots at all. They claim some from the father's side, but that's not how you're Jewish by genealogical roots. So, I mean, I think the people that blame just the Jews for the NWO, I think they have not done enough research at all. I think that anybody can hide behind the Jews and do some horrible deeds, that it will come back on these people for allowing it to happen. Sure, maybe. I don't know. That's not my place to say. That's God's place. And the deeper psychological reasons, people like to believe charismatic people. I think when you see communism come in and you see people that were fighting it vehemently, like Hitler was, when really he was much like Frederick Engels. A lot of his ideological backgrounds came from Frederick Engels. So he wasn't much different. He was a socialist. He was a social democrat, which is coming in Canada in full force, and I see it starting in Canada. So, does that answer everything there? He wasn't a saint. For those who think he's a good guy, no, I think he was a puppet. I think he was well used. He had a Jezebel spirit, much like many people in this movement, and that was used against the people, the German people, against the Jews, and they had their own scapegoat. They had Hitler as a scapegoat. He was nothing more than a puppet, just like the people that you see that are, many of the people that you see that are, quote unquote, whatever, authoritative channels for the truth movement on YouTube. Yeah, and essentially you just put them into that place, right? For one reason or another, you just allow it to happen because they naturally glide towards positions of power because they want power, they want to feel powerful. If you are not aware of this type of mentality, then what's going to happen? It's going to take you over. And if you're not up on your history, it's going to repeat itself. And I think that in this movement, and I'm not saying everybody, and I don't know what the percentages would be, but I'd say that there's a lot of people that have been hurt by narcissists. There's a lot of people that have been hurt by megalomaniacs, by the Jezebel spirit. And we tend to tolerate it. And we think that rather than looking at our own problems, why do we keep believing these maniacs? We tend to look for the next group that seems to be telling you the next truth. And that could be a religion, that could be a truth movement, it could be a nation, it could be a Hitler, it could be anything really, as long as you don't have to look at your own problems. And then you don't have to realize what a wretched person that we all are. I'm not saying just you, because I was one of them, right? I still am one of them in the flesh, right? So if you don't look at it and you don't come to Jesus and you say, listen, wow, I'm messed up, okay? And there's nothing I'm going to be able to do about this. Jesus, I need you in my life to save me from this constant garbage, from me running from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. And it's all the same. It's all controlled by the same type of mentality, the same type of spirit. The bad spirits of this world, they do exist. And if you don't ask Jesus to save you, if you don't accept that he came here to die on the cross, he lived a perfect life. He died on the cross so that his body, his flesh, when that was put up on the cross, we now have a personal relationship with Jesus if we can accept that. And we can nail our sins up to the cross with it. And it'll be a wrestle with the flesh after that, of course. And yeah, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be fooled again. Anybody who thinks that they aren't going to be fooled again are usually the first ones fooled. Anybody who thinks that they have the full truth are already the ones that are first fooled, because they're proactively fooling themselves. And until you have that realization for yourself that there's nothing that you can do about it, but you need Jesus to save you from that, you got no chance. You have no chance. You're going to fall for the Hitlers. You're going to fall for the free radio revolutions. You're going to fall for the Stalins, the Joseph Smiths of the world, the David Miscaviges of Scientology. Now, it may not be these obvious religions. It may not be these obvious cults, right? But it could be this cult comes in many forms, and you're not going to be able to see it until you get your head in the Word and you start reading the verses that show you where to spot and how to spot these counterfeit teachers who are really just there for themselves and are being used for their greediness. So that being said, I hope that answers your question, Andrew. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave your comments. I might approve them, might not. This has been Avidan. May God's peace, grace, truth, and love be with you all if you seek him in faith and faith alone. Take care.